This episode has been brought to you by Sanibel. At Sanibel, they are committed to creating professional-grade equipment engineered to perform at the highest level. Anything from focus mitts to shin pads and boxing gloves. Go to Sanibel's website at sanibelsports.com and use code The Define Podcast for 10% off all sales. That is code The Define Podcast for 10% off all sales. Thank you, Sanibel. Back to the show.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Define Podcast. It's been a while. It's just me here today. JJ's not here to help me out with this little thingamajigger, but you know the drill. The Define Podcast on Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Define Podcast. Let's go. We've been gone for a little bit, but we're back. You know, life gets in the way, but hey, I'm here. We're back again. We're doing this thing. And today I'm going to do my immediate reaction to last night's, Saturday night's fight. UFC 294. Holy fucking shit. What a fucking card. It was a lot of it was fireworks to say the least, you know. Let's start from the top. Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski. Holy shit. I was not expecting that. The first round KO from Islam, definitely wasn't expecting that. If anything, I would have thought Volkanovski would have ended with the first round KO, not Islam, especially in the fashion he did with the head kick. That was beautiful. He did it with the oldest trick in the book. Low, 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 body kick, then eventually went up high. And Alex, to his credit, had his hand up, but it just went through his guard. Like he still connected chin to chin with his hand up, and it still knocked him out. He dropped him, and then he just followed it with some heavy shots, and that was all she wrote. But I have to give credit where credit is due. Alexander Volkanovski is a bad man. Both gentlemen are. Islam as well. They both took the fight on very short notice. Alex went up a weight class. Both these guys had their toughest fight in the UFC against each other not too long ago, and they pushed each other to their limits, and they just said, you know what, fuck it, we're going to do it again. And they went over to Abu Dhabi, put their mouthpiece in, and squared it off. But unfortunately for Alexander Volkanovski, he did not get to reach that double champ status. But hey, most people in the UFC don't even become champions. Less of them become double champions. You know what I mean? So I have to give credit to Alexander Volkanovski for attempting greatness. It's not something every day that happens, and he took that opportunity and said fuck it and tried, and it just didn't work out. But that's life, you know. He can hold his head up high and live to fight another day. If I was his coach, I'd say, man, dust off your shoulders, you know, take some time off, head back to the gym. Let's keep fucking training. You still have a belt. You're still a champion at 145, and you got a tough challenger coming up. So put this one in the rear view and keep going forward. Congratulations to Islam Makhachev. That was a beautiful setup. It was fucking nice. Okay. We had the co-main event, Kamaru, the Nigerian Nightmare Usman versus Hamzat Boars Chimaev. What a fucking fight. Round one, Chimaev didn't give a fuck, took Usman down pretty easily and took his back and kind of beat the shit out of him. He attempted to choke him a few times. It didn't work out. But that just gives credit to Usman's championship championship mindset. The amount of rounds he's had as a champion, the dark places he's been in that octagon, it showed his mindset and his character in that first round. Because where has everyone up to that point, minus Gilbert Burns, Hamzat has gotten that situation, he's got them out of there in the first round or early second round. I think it was one fight. He usually fucks people up in this position. And Hamzat has this mindset where he gets a hold of you, he's just going to take you down, and there's nothing you can do about it. He's gonna win. And he tried that with Usman, and it didn't work. Granted, that was a 10-8 round if I've ever seen one. Hamzat really just put it on him, but it didn't work out. Round two came out. They were both gun shy. It was a bit strange. I thought Hamzat took a couple shots. It didn't work, but they were both gun shy. Towards the end of the round, we saw a complete 180. Usman just let his fucking hands go. 1-2, 1-2 down the pipe, jab, jab, 1-2 down the pipe, was cracking him. And they were landing. Hamzat landed a couple of shots too, and they were good shots. But there was a clear difference between the two guys. And Hamzat was eating more shots, taking more damaging shots from Usman. And in my opinion, Usman won that second round. Round 3, very close. But again, the first time I watched it, I believe that Usman lost the third round. Watching it again, I believe that Usman won that third round because it was more of the same. Hamzat was taking a couple of shots, stuffed by Usman, and Usman was dictating where the striking was going. He was throwing 1-2s, simple combinations that were landing, and they were very effective. Hamzat, too, was throwing back, but just didn't have that same effect on when it landed on Usman. And the last 10 seconds, I remember they just bit down and just started going ham. And that was awesome. For all accounts, it was a great fight. Kamaru Usman down at Sanford, or is Killcliff now, something like that. They have that saying, Henry Hoof, keep it simple, stupid, and that's what Kamaru was doing. And in my opinion, at first, I thought that he lost round 3 at first, but then I watched it back again. I believe that he won round 2 and 3. So this fight could have actually been a draw. It could have been. I don't think it was a robbery by any sort. I'm comfortable with Hamzat winning that fight, but after analyzing it after I watched it the first time, I thought to myself, maybe this could be a draw, but it wasn't. Hamzat won and still undefeated, and by all accounts, it was a great fight. It was a great fight. I don't think anyone has lost that fight, to be fair. Usman could hold his head up high knowing that he just took a fight on 10 days' notice against one of the scariest guys in the UFC that no one wants to fight, up a weight class in Abu Dhabi on enemy territory. You know what I'm saying? Like that's some pretty ballsy shit. Him and Alexander Volkanovski both are some bad dudes. So is Hamzat and so is Islam for taking the fight, because they could have said no as well. But I just want to reiterate that that's such a gutsy thing to do. Daring to be great. A lot of people won't do that. They won't take that sort of opportunity because of such high risk. But high risk, high reward. Usman didn't get the job done, but in my opinion, it showed his heart and his character as a fighter and as a champion. And now we know why Usman is one of the greatest, or if not the greatest welterweight of all time. And I think he does have a shot at 185 if he so chooses to stay there. He's not done yet, so he's got a lot of time left in his career, in my opinion. I know a lot of people saying, "Oh, he's getting old." He's still got it. He looked amazing in that fight, considering what happened in round 1 and how we brought it back round 2 and 3. Hey, you got to give credit where credit's due. All right, I just wanted to take the time out to thank our new sponsors, We Hate Clubs. We Hate Clubs is a brand which was developed with the idea that people should live outside of their comfortable spaces, leaning into music, art, photography, parties, and fashion. We Hate Clubs is built to function as something greater than oneself. Make sure to follow We Hate Clubs on Instagram if you're in the Chicagoland area. Now back to the show. In the Coco main event, we had Ankalaev versus Johnny Walker. What a fucking I don't know what the fuck happened there. The fight was good for as long as it lasted. It was pretty technical. Ankalaev landed a nasty body shot on Johnny Walker. Johnny hit him with the Derek Lewis, hit him with the and then boom, hit him with the flying knee. It didn't land. I don't remember if it landed or not, but it was beautiful setup. But it was cool. It was fun, exciting. Johnny Walker's such an exciting fighter. He's explosive. He's unpredictable. He's athletic. And Ankalaev is such a technical fighter. He stays tight. He's so disciplined. And that was, I think, on its way to being a great fight. But they got into a situation where Ankalaev had Johnny Walker down on the cage, by the side of the cage. And for some reason, he decided to throw a knee to Johnny's dome. And that shit fucked him up bad. He didn't know where the fuck he was. But you got to think, anyone that says that he was faking it, or no way, he was not. He just took a knee from a 200, more like they weigh 205 pounds on the day of the weigh-ins. He was at least 220, 225 in there, at least. Imagine 225 pounds of Russian kneecap to your skull. You know what I'm saying? That's going to fuck any man up, no matter what size you are. And Johnny Walker, to his credit, was still wanting to fight because even after the referee called it off, he was still down to go. Both these men, they were still ready to fight afterwards, but I don't know what happened. The ref, not the ref, the doctor, I wish should have let that go a little bit longer. I understand why he stopped it. You got to think about longevity as far as fighters and having them protect the fighter from himself or herself. But in that situation, I think the doctor was a little fast to pull the trigger. He should have given Johnny Walker a little bit more time to collect himself, and to understand the situation before he just called it off. But again, I don't blame him entirely because you have to think about the fighter and their longevity in the long run. So that's unfortunate. In the fight before that, it was Ikram. I cannot pronounce this man's last name. Ali Shkurov versus I apologize. I'm gonna just call him Ikram. Ikram versus Warley Alves. That shit was quick. That was a really quick fight. Ikram looks really dangerous. I think in his last fight he knocked out Phil Haas round 1. He knocked out Warley Alves round 1, hit him with a mean flying knee, and then just the follow-up shots were nasty after that. This guy's a problem, man. This guy's a problem in this division. Who did he fight before? Did he fight Hamzat before? I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure. I heard his name. Maybe I'm mistaken him from somebody else. I could be, but I definitely saw him fight his last fight in the UFC. He looked phenomenal. In this fight, he looked phenomenal. So this guy's a problem. We didn't really get to see a lot of his game outside of, his striking, but for all accounts, it was pretty good. And the fight before this was Said Nurmagomedov versus Munin Gurfurov. Man, these Eastern European names are hard. But again, this was in the bantamweight division. Said Nurmagomedov got it done early. I think Munin went for a single leg, and Said just kind of just wrapped up his neck, and that was it. That was all she wrote. It was a very quick fight, and it was a really nice finish. And it's very impressive to see these guys go in there and then just get it done in the fashion that they do. The UFC is such a... They've put on such great fights. I'm a huge fan of the UFC. I love these cards. And what was the featured prelim was Muhammad Makayev versus Tim Elliott. This was a good fight. You have Muhammad Makayev, a young up-and-coming prospect, undefeated, never lost a fight as an amateur, never lost a fight as a pro. He's been undefeated his entire career in general versus the very, very tough and tricky, gritty veteran in Tim Elliott, former title challenger. So this fight, I can't lie, I thought it was going to go differently. I didn't think that Makayev was going to be able to read Tim Elliott as quickly as he did because, as Tim, he's very awkward, is his name, Awkward MMA, right? He has a very weird style, and Tim looked a lot bigger this fight. He looked like he's put on a lot more muscle, and this guy never gets tired. He has great cardio, and he is really good at jiu-jitsu. So it was a good scrap for as long as it lasted. What round? It was round 3 that Makayev ended up getting the submission. But when Makayev gets on top, he has such a, just from his wrestling background alone, he has such good control. And Tim almost had him in a triangle armbar, but Muhammad is just so tenacious that he picked him up and just slammed dude on his head and got out of it. And then eventually he ended up on top and just locked up that submission, and that's all she wrote. So it was a great fight. It was a great card. UFC 294, for what it was worth, it was an amazing card. I really enjoyed watching it. And I can't wait until the next pay-per-view. I believe it is UFC 295. Oh, shit. We got John Jones versus Stipe Miocic and Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prochazka in the co-main event. Holy shit. That's gonna be a card right there. My early predictions. All right, I'm thinking Yuri Prochazka and Alex Pereira. Yuri Prochazka is very similar to Johnny Walker, but a lot more reckless. He just throws with everything and doesn't really give a shit about getting hit or anything. Alex Pereira is a lot more calculated, more disciplined, and he hits like a Mack truck. He's also going up a weight class. I think Yuri Prohaska is going to give Alex a hard time, but eventually Alex is going to find a way to get it done by staying disciplined and sticking to his game. Yuri Prohaska has a chance if he takes Alex down and just kind of uses his wrestling and jiu-jitsu. But again, it's if Alex stays disciplined and learns to just sprawl and not get into certain weird, funky situations, I think he'll be okay. So I'm going to pick Alex Pereira for this one. Early prediction. John Jones, Stipe Miocic. Holy shit. The greatest heavyweight of all time versus the GOAT. Oh, I don't know. I don't know how this goes. I think ultimately John Jones gets his hand raised. I don't know how. I think it's going to be a barn burner of a fight. I don't think Jones is just going to go in there and ragdoll Stipe Miocic because no one does. And I just think it's going to be a barn burner. They're going to be throwing. It's going to be blood. It's going to be guts everywhere. But ultimately, John Jones just does what he does and gets his hand raised. That's my early prediction. So thank you guys for tuning in. I apologize for the long delay. Hey, for everyone that's a fan of the show, I appreciate you guys. A few people messaged me asking me when I'm coming back, and I really appreciate it. It motivates me to keep this thing going and watch this show grow. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Defying Podcast. Follow us on Instagram as well, The Defying Podcast. Leave a thumbs, a like, and share with your friends and family. Tell them we're back, baby. Let's go. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you to our new sponsors, Flow State Coffee. Flow State Coffee is a performance coffee with ingredients that give you a deeper focus, better mood, and it lowers caffeine-related anxiety so you don't get any jitters or shake. It's coffee made to get shit done.
Be sure to use discount code DEFY, DEFY at checkout for 10% off all sales.